Morning. Well, it's not, but it is Sunday, and tomorrow would be 909 day. And normally on 909 day, Roland will typically announce new product. That's sort of been the sort of mantra for the last couple of years. However, last Thursday, videos started appearing on YouTube by other tubers who were invited to an event in London at Abbey Road Studios. And it appears that Roland have jumped the gun this year. So instead of launching on 909 day, they launched on 909 day -4, which is last Thursday. So what have they launched? They have launched a bunch of products. They've launched the Fantom, which is a brand new music workstation. They've launched the Jupiter X and XM, which is sort of a synthesizer and its little baby brother. There is no difference between the functionality of the two units apart from their size. They've launched a brand new boutique, which is the JU6A, and then they've launched a couple of groove boxes, the 707 and the 101. So let's go back and let's think about the Fantom. So the first question that springs to mind when I see Roland launch a new keyboard is it a Kronos killer? I've kind of indoctrinated myself into the whole sort of Korg ethos about workstations, and I love my Korg workstations, my music workstations, to the point where I'm sitting surrounded by two of the legendary ones, that one there and this one here. So to me, you have to go a long way to beat the Kronos. The Fantom comes in 3 flavours. It comes in a flavour called 6, a flavour called 7, and a flavour called 8. The difference between those 3 flavours is not functional, it's size. So one is a 61, one is a 76, and one is an 88, and I'm sure you can work out which way around that works. One of the big selling points they've made with this new range of Fantom keyboards is the fact that they have gone back and revisited the whole keybed concept. So the 61 and the 76 note keyboards are semi-weighted, and the 88 is a full weighted keyboard. Now, rather than take a semi-weighted keyboard from one of their older synth lines, with the Fantom, what they appear to have gone and done is rebuilt the keybed. And the way they've done that effectively is by creating a metal frame around the keybed and mounting the keybed into it. And the responses from the reports I've seen so far say this is a very, very nice keyboard to actually play. With the 88, they took a different approach. With the 88, what they've done is effectively gone and pinched the keybed from the PHA 50 Roland piano. So they've gone and pinched it off a piano and stuck it on the Fantom. So I suppose the idea is they're going to try and deal with that sort of, well, it's got weight to it, but it's not really. You don't get the hammer feel, the feel of the hammer on the keyboard when you come back. They've obviously gone for that because the PHA 50 is quite a high-end digital piano from the Roland line. Voice construction, as far as I can tell from what I've seen so far, follows a sort of similar Roland trait to what Roland have normally used with this thing, which is you start off with a partial, you combine partials to create tones, you can try combine tones to create scenes, and you store scenes to play. So that is a sort of fairly standard style of tone construction used across the industry. Roland haven't changed. It's something they pretty much pioneered, I suppose, back in the sort of the synth days, because I mean my D50 works exactly that same way. It doesn't have the concept of a scene, but you take your partials and you combine your partials into tones, and then you can play multiple tones. So the concept is the same. It's just been updated, I suppose. Again, one of the big things they've made on the videos I've seen so far is about sort of seamlessly transitioning between scenes. So you can be playing one scene, press a button, press a foot switch, load the next scene into memory, and when you hit the next key, you're playing the next scene. I've got to say, Roland, Korg have had that one nailed for a number of years, but it's now good to see that your workstation is matching what Korg have been doing. So one of the things I have sort of picked up on in the sales blurb of the Fantom is the fact that it comes with two very distinct engines, so two ways of generating the sound. Way one is they've taken the V piano and they've basically put it into this keyboard, so you have a proper piano sound generation engine in the unit. So I suppose it's sort of like taking on the mantra of, if you buy a Kronos, you get the Berlin Grand, which everyone raves about, and I do think it's a lovely piano to play. So in here you've got the V piano, which is going to have the Roland equivalents of those sampled pianos, high definition sampled pianos. The other engine they've got is this ZEN-Core. Now, there's not a lot. Again, I mean, over weeks, I suppose we're going to get more exposure to what ZEN-Core is all about. But the way I read what's been said is that ZEN-Core is a sound engine built out of the work the Roland have been doing on the boutiques. So it's sort of analog circuitry behavior modeling, but a digital sound generation. And again, that's how you're going to produce your sort of weird and wacky synths. So because they've put this synth engine in, I wonder whether Roland are now going to start issuing banks of legendary synthesizer sounds for the Fantom that you can buy as an upgrade pack. We'll see. We'll obviously see. The sequencer has pinned or is pinched the active light display from the area in the boutiques, and Roland seem to be doing this quite a lot across a lot of their machinery now. So the System 8 has it, the MX1, the TR8, the TS8, the boutique drum machines, and a number of the other boutiques all have the same concept of this sort of running 2-bar 16 note display, or 16 step display, should I say. And Roland have basically stuck the same thing on the Fantom. It's almost a direct pinch from an MX1, if I'm honest, by the looks of it. But the other thing, the interesting thing about where Roland are taking that is the step sequencer is capable of doing steps, which is notes you record, and it's also capable of triggering clips. So you can actually have a clip being triggered by each one of those. So it's sort of kind of based on clip management. Now, I'm not surprised they've done that, because the TR8 and the groove boxes that I'm going to come onto in a minute have definitely gone in that direction. But I wonder whether are we trying to put some of that Ableton functionality into the hardware in front of the musician. Now, to be honest, I'm all for that. I really am all for that. And the reason I'm all for that is because it means that the musician who's on the road only has to take the keyboard loaded with all the sounds, rather than taking the keyboard and the Mac and then. My problem is, whenever I play away from here, I take the kitchen sink. So go read into that what you will. So, cost. How much does this thing cost? The 6 is a shade around £3,000, and the 8 is a shade over £3,500. So if you take halfway between the two, the 76 is in the middle, roughly. And then we come on to the screen. Now, what I do like about the screen, and I think this is a Kronos killer, is the fact that you can change real-time parameters on the screen while you're performing. So that means you can have a wave envelope on the screen, and while you're playing the keyboard, you can actually, with your finger, redraw that wave envelope. That, I think, is very, very powerful, and it probably follows on from the sort of the ability to be able to change scenes, because effectively that's what you're doing. You're telling the synthesizer to reload the sound seamlessly while you're playing it. That feature I do really like, because that Kronos can't do that. You can change it and then play it but you can't change it while you're in performance mode, like they seem to be able to do in the videos they were showing. Very, very, I do like that feature. I do like that feature. Now, will I replace my Chronos 2 with this? So, my Chronos 2 I bought many years ago. It's been a workhorse for me. Do I think I'm going to change that for the flagship Fantom machine? And the answer is no. And the reason why the answer is no is because I can probably get most of what I want from the collection of boutique instruments and ARIA instruments and my legacy synthesizers that I've already bought. And I can't see how a Fantom is going to improve my workflow. Doesn't mean it's going to improve other people's workflow if they're not used to the Chronos. The Chronos is and the Korg way of working is a different way of working to the Roland way of working. So, and you tend to get people sort of like align themselves to the different camps. And I said at the beginning of this video, I've aligned myself to the Korg camp in this particular area. And for me, I'll be having a look, but I won't be dipping my hand in my pocket. It's as simple as that. So let's move on to the Jupiter X and XM. Now, these are interesting, but the price tags are not, I have to be honest. So the Jupiter X comes in at a shade over £2,500, and the XM comes in a shade at over 1,300 quid. And as I said right at the step of this video, the difference is the size of the keyboard. So it was sort of, there was a comment about, you know, are these is the XM aimed at the bedroom for eternity? And at £1,300, I don't think it is, and definitely at £2,200, I don't think the bigger one is either. I think this is a thoroughly professional piece of kit. So, you know, you look at these things and you say, where are they based? Now, what Roland sort of kind of had in mind for this sort of X and XM is that you could have the X permanently plugged into your main rig or in your studio, and you would travel with the XM, so you can use the XM on the road because it's that much smaller. And I can kind of see that, but I'm not quite sure I would buy both synthesizers, because, you know, you're then looking at a price of about £3,500 to have both in your stable. I can see the idea, not sure the practicality of that. The X is a 61 note semi-weighted keyboard, and the XM is a 37 note semi-weighted keyboard. So as I said, I mean, the 61 note is quite compact anyway, and then you go down to this sort of 37 note rendition. I sort of kind of like my System 1 from that respect, because I like the small keyboard, but then I kind of use my System 1 as a bass engine rather than anything else. I mean, I said before on the channel, people say, why have you got System 1 and System 8? And I thoroughly expected to sell my System 1 when I bought my System 8, but what I found is I tended to use the System 1 for putting really bassy, grungy sounds in that I could play with one hand while I was playing something else on another keyboard with the other. And I kind of like that. It's kind of like the reason why a lot of people buy the sort of the Novation bass station. It's about the same size, 2 octaves of keys, and it's great for producing bass notes, as is the System 1. I think the System 1 is quite grungy though. So is the X going to rival or trump the Jupiter 80, or the 6, or the 4, or even the legendary 8? Well, that's a really interesting question. Some might argue that it's not really a Jupiter at all. So the 80 was, how do I describe it? The 80 is the quintessential synthesizer. There's not a lot you can't do with the 80. The 80 is just a fantastic workhorse and a tool. But this synthesizer that's just come out, this Jupiter X, is it really a synthesizer, or is it an extension of where the System 8 went? The ZEN-Core technology, as quoted is quoted in various models as a generator that can replicate these various legacy or vintage synthesizers. And the marketing blurb for this thing, it's like a studio full of vintage gear. And I think that is a really good way of explaining where I think the X is. The X is going for that market, a professional market, where you want something that looks nice and flash on a stage, with nice sort of chrome end bits on, or brushed aluminium end bits, but can actually play all those legendary tones from some of the other Roland synthesizers that were on the market many, many years ago. That's kind of where I think this thing is going. At the launch of the synth, at the launch event, sorry, should I say, the synth came with stated Jupiter 8, Juno 106, SH101 synths. It came with a TR808, a TR909, and a CR78 drum kits. And it also made a big statement about taking more as they come. So that doesn't mean that effectively what we're going to end up with is all this sort of circuitry modelling and all these boutiques that have been released are going to then be repackaged and released for the X. I don't know. Roland never tipped their hand on this stuff. They just give you pointers. But quite often I think Roland are really poor at following up on those pointers. I use my System 8 as a very classic example of this. I thought Roland would do far more with the System 8, and they seem to have kind of dropped it where we are now. And now with the X coming on stream, is there any impetus within Roland to carry on with the sort of System 8 lineage? I do hope there is, but I have to ask the question, is this thing going to take over from that? Again, the keyboards between these new synths have been completely re-engineered. They've definitely invested in the playability of this and the Fantom. In terms of, the instrument, the professional musician who's going to sit down and play this, and they're going to be playing this for several hours a night. They have invested in it. The key action is meant to be superb, again on the Jupiter 8. However, one thing they seem to have definitely missed is an aftertouch. The reviews I've seen so far say it doesn't exist. It didn't exist on the System 8 either, and I really don't get that. I think aftertouch is something that is commonly expected nowadays, but hey ho. And the other thing that has been mentioned about these new Jupiters is they are built like tanks. The 61 note keyboard clocks in at 17 kilos, right? So, I'll give you an example of what 17 kilos looks like. That is a fifth of my body weight. Just under a fifth of my body weight. That is heavy. And the little one still clocks in at 6 kilos. So again, put that into perspective. 6 kilos is equivalent to 12 bags of sugar. Right? We used to get sugar in pound bags. So go think that one out, because it's quite, if you're carrying that around, especially the 61 note keyboards, you're not going to be carrying that around in a bag over your shoulder for very long, because it's going to kill you, and you end up with shoulders that look like that. And to be honest, many years ago, I actually had to go and see someone because I used to carry my computer in a bag over my shoulder like that. And of course, one of the things you do with a computer bag is you stuff all your papers in there as well. So this thing weighed a small ton. So and I actually went and saw someone because my shoulders are out of alignment. Yeah, it's a side piece. So going back, how do these compare? How do these new synthesizers compare with the System 8? Well, definitely more functional. No if buts or maybes. The System 8 is not as functional. The arpeggiator, they've spent time on the arpeggiation engine in this thing, and apparently it can play four different sounds plus a drum part, so it's 5 parts in total when the arpeggiation engine kicks in, which is actually quite impressive. So you can do all kinds of things. Is it enough for me to go out and buy it? again, I said earlier on, I felt a little bit let down with the System 8 and the fact they sort of where they've kind of left it off. I think that this is one of those ones where I'm going to sit on my hands. And the reason why I think I'm going to sit on my hands about it is because I want to see what Roland do. I want to see if Roland actually put the money behind the marketing this time round and actually start to release, an SH2, a JX3P, a Jupiter 6, a Jupiter 4, all these things that you want that they haven't currently released. Are they going to circuitry model them and release them on this ZEN-Core engine so that you can actually buy them and download them and put them on the Jupiter X? They have said there are more to come. That's the carrot. So the carrot is there are more to come. Is the carrot worth 2,200 quid? Don't know. At that point, I'm going to break because I'm going to have to do this in 2 parts. See you in a bit.
Remember, hit that like button if you like what you saw. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified about more rants, more mailbag, more questions and answers, and more videos about this sort of stuff when it's loaded to the channel. Until next time, bye bye.